This afternoon, we have a great opportunity to talk about an issue that affects every single one of us. I'm Kana Enomoto. I'm from McKinsey & Company, and I co-lead our Center for Societal Benefit through Healthcare, and I'm joined by Taryn Bird, who is the director of the Kate Spade Foundation, as well as community programs. And we're going to talk about how women are affected in the workplace, particularly around the area of mental health. We've seen with COVID-19 an unprecedented number of Americans experiencing symptoms of mental health, of anxiety and depression, increased substance use, and a great deal of burnout that we've never seen before. And when we look at it, we're seeing that these things don't affect women and men equally, but in fact, women, especially working women, are affected disproportionately. We're seeing women experiencing and expressing less inclusive and less supportive work environments, and then feeling that those environments are causing them to want to leave the workforce. And then those combined stresses leading to increased mental health challenges. So we're looking at 1 in 3 female managers and about 1 in 5 female caregivers reporting experiencing a toxic work environment. So people are belittling them, people are not supporting their assertions or doubting what they're saying, or feeling that they're being put down in a condescending way or being demeaned. And unfortunately, we're seeing that this is even more true for women of color, that they are even at a higher rate feeling like their judgment is questioned or they're being interrupted or spoken over. And all of this in combination with the stress of the caregiving responsibilities, the other anxieties related to COVID and returning to the workplace or continuing to work at a frontline position, we know is having a tremendous effect on people wanting to either get support for those issues or even considering leaving the workplace. So all of these things combined create an environment where there's more opportunity than ever for employers to take a role. And so I think we have a great spokesperson here from Kate Spade with Taryn, able to talk to us about what your journey at Kate Spade has been in terms of being involved in addressing employee mental health.
Thanks, Kana, and thanks for some of those, hard statistics to hear, but important ones to really internalize and ground ourselves for this conversation. My name is Taryn Bird. I'm Senior Director of Social Impact here at Kate Spade, New York, as Kana mentioned. And Kana, thanks for the question on the journey. I feel like it's important to acknowledge that it is a journey and there is no actual final destination. And I think where we are at today at Kate Spade in terms of our mental health journey, started for us about 10 years ago with actually some work we were doing in Rwanda in partnership with a community partner base there that we saw firsthand, which was studied by Georgetown University. The impactful role that providing mental health to women in the workforce has in terms of increasing their voice, choice, power, and ultimate empowerment levels. That was really the first place that we saw how significant a mental health intervention could be at the workforce. And then unfortunately in 2018, we lost our founder to death by suicide. And at the time, made some commitments in the mental health space here domestically, as well as internally within the company. And since then have really integrated mental health into our women's empowerment approach, so much so that we say that it's the heart of how we look at women's empowerment, funding mental health initiatives globally with about 25 nonprofit organizations, and making a commitment to reach 100,000 women and girls with access to mental health resources and tools by 2025. And just rounding it out with your question in terms of our internal journey and our workplace journey, we include our employees in that 100,000. And so that's both our corporate employees and our field employees that are in our stores, in our warehouses. And so I can talk a little bit more about that, but that's a really, really important commitment that we made that's not only for women and girls in marginalized communities, but also for our internal community here at Kate Spade.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful to hear what you're doing both inside of Kate Spade and what you're doing for your communities. You know, we know that 9 out of 10 employers have said that COVID-19 has affected their
Mhm.
workforce's well-being and their productivity. And most employers are also trying to do something about it. So we hope so there's a great opportunity to create a social shift in terms of how we all think and act on these issues. And more Americans are willing to talk about it than ever before.
Mm.
And so Taryn, I'd love to hear how Kate Spade New York and Kate Spade Foundation are really driving action and awareness on mental health, both inside and outside.
Kana, I'm so glad you asked that question and used the word action. I think that's so important. There's been so much effort on the destigmatization, and there's more work to be done there. But that action piece and providing employees access to resources is so critically important right now. I'll say two things, and these are just two examples of how our company is actioning. The first of which is we do have an internal program that we call Mind, Body, Soul. There's about 60 of us across our corporate and our field teams that are super passionate about mental health and putting on mental health programming within the organization at a monthly level. So we have a lot of grassroots support for this topic, a lot of folks that are incredibly passionate and interested in that. The second piece to that that's also incorporated into that employee group, we offer biweekly meditations as well as monthly newsletters on mental health content and resources that our teams can use and utilize. The most important which is our EAP. I think socializing EAP, talking about our EAP, that's the Employee Assistance Program, is so important. And the second piece that I wanted to mention in terms of how we're actioning is last Mental Health Action Day, which this year is taking place on May 19th. And it's an event hosted by MTV, and they're also very much pushing action from global actors in the mental health space. But we made a commitment to train our teams to become mental health first aiders. And as of today, we have 68 of us across our corporate and our field teams that are trained in mental health first aid. So what that means is that we're resource hubs. We're places that if a team member or a community member is having a difficult time, we understand the signs and the symptoms, but we also can point them towards resources that we have, most important of which being our Employee Assistance Program. And so we've also made it really easy to activate and to use. We've created a QR code that everybody has access to, so you don't have to go through and look at 5 different websites in order to get that number, but make it really easy to be able to call EAP and engage with EAP. So that's just, 2 ways in which we've worked towards action, but it's definitely an area that we see as a journey. And that's, where we are today, and definitely look to make improvements for the future as well.
That's such exciting work, and a big fan of mental health first aid here. So
it's
really,
so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It really makes a difference for people when they feel like they have the tools to respond to someone who's really in need.
Yeah, and even as a manager, it's like you have the language to be able to bridge that conversation with a coworker or a member of your team or even your manager in a way that you might have not had it before. Yeah, it's just such an amazing program.
It is. I agree. I think so many of us, have the experience of wanting, like we feel like we know there's something wrong or that someone is in need of help, but then we're afraid to say something because we're not sure what to do and we're not sure how they're going to respond. And programs like Mental Health First Aid can equip us with those tools and that knowledge.
Totally. Yeah.
So kudos to you guys for doing that. We at McKinsey have a framework that we have identified for what we think employers can do. We think they can make mental health a priority, like Kate Spade has, enhance mental health supports, make sure that your benefits are at parity with physical health care, and then cultivate an inclusive culture, measure and hold accountable those services, supports, and leaders in your organization that are in charge of mental health. And also communicating available support. So, EAP programs have like 4 or 5% utilization rates sometimes. People don't know where to go or what's available to them or how important this is to their leadership. So I wonder, Taryn, if you can tell me, how are you guys communicating what's available to your workforce?
Yeah, I think like it's not just what you communicate, it's how you communicate it. And one of our core values at Kate Spade is to welcome with warmth. I mean, you'll feel that when you walk into one of our stores, and you're also going to feel that when you get an email from us, regardless of if it's selling you a handbag or if it's telling you about an internal resource that we have. We're very conscious of how important it is to create content with that level of warmth, and we've taken that level of warmth to our sharing mental health resources with our teams. And so I think that that's incredibly important. I think the second piece to that, Kana, and you alluded to it a little bit, is we have started to really bridge and work with partners that are in our social impact partnership base, but also work with them on internal activations within our own community. So just an example of that, and I know the Born This Way Foundation is a super close friend to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. They're also, real great partners of ours here at Kate Spade, New York, and we've been participating in with them every September in Be Kind 21, which really encourages 21 days of kindness to help to foster individual and collective positive mental health. It's an awesome campaign. If your teams might be interested in how can we get into the mental health space and how can we do this in a really approachable way, I gotta say, Be Kind 21 is a great place to start. So we started that 2 years ago. This past year, through the Kate Spade team, both with our internal teams and our customer, we generated around 100,000 acts of kindness across 6 global regions. And it's just been such a beautiful partnership in so many respects. But that connection between kindness and mental health, I think when people hear mental health, sometimes they're like, whoa, I'm not ready for that yet. That's a lot. And it's as we know, mental health comes on a spectrum, and there's lots of different ways you can practice cultivating positive mental health. And the Born This Way Foundation introduced the Be Kind 21 campaign to us. And it's been such a beautiful expression of how we can bring this work to life in both an internal and an external way, creating that kind of 360 approach. So that's been a really positive partnership and program that we're excited to continue.
I love that. And, I think we know that making progress on this is going to require innovation. It's going to require taking chances. And that's so exciting to hear that you guys did that. And 100,000 acts of kindness, right? You just put better energy out into the world. I wonder, how has that affected your workforce or your company culture? People worry about how does this affect the bottom line? Is this a distraction? Is this a detraction? How do you guys experience that?
Our company culture is really, really important to us. We were founded by a female entrepreneur in 1994 with a group of 3 friends who were looking to bring new product into the world and doing it in a really meaningful way. And, our company culture is very, very important. And we have our values that we're closely aligned to, which I mentioned, welcome with warmth being one of them. Wonderfully determined is another, and so I'd say, our work in the mental health space, I think is deeply connected to our purpose as a brand, which is joy colors life. And, that is something I think that's critically important to not only kind of how your work, connects to your brand purpose, but how we're able to really tangibly help to really bolster our message of joy in a really authentic way that's not only felt through product, but felt through the employee experience. And look, we have work to do there too, just like everybody does. But that should be felt whether you're buying a handbag in one of our stores or you're working in one of our corporate offices here in New York. So that's what we strive for, and what we're continuing to work towards as a group and as a community.
That's amazing. And, as we know, our young people, and the next generation of professionals are more than ever prioritizing their mental health, even in selecting an employer or deciding to stay at an employer. It's 2 out of 3. So I think to the degree that you guys are making that kind of progress, it's really important for the future. And, so excited to hear what you've done, the progress that you've made, and hope that this is a great and shining example for others who are wanting to make a positive impact on women's health, on women's wellness at work, and seeing an example of an employer that is being strategic and proactive in this aspect of transformation and embracing women.
And Kana, I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing in spearheading, because without that type of data, we would have nothing to be able to point to say things need to change. So thank you so much for the work that you and McKinsey are doing in this space and helping to shine a light on this issue, because it's been underfunded and undervalued for way too long. And without that type of data, things aren't going to change. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the great conversation.
Yeah.